Hi, it's Marcia. Just wanted to share with you how I created this card that I did with mixed media and acrylic paints. As you'll remember, in my previous post, I made this card and then I did this card with more design. I did this one with Distress inks. I did this one with watercolors and a posca pen. You can see the difference between the two. I did black Sharpie on the right hand side and black posca pen on the left hand side, and it's much more brilliant. I used Distress inks and a blending brush, and on the left I did watercolors. So just two totally different looks. Loved them. But then I did this one with acrylic paints, and I really had a lot of fun doing this with acrylic paints on cardstock. So I want to show you how I did that. So I started with a palette brush. I have me a wet wipe. I have me some paper towels. Excuse me. I have some paints. I have I used a credit card, but this time I'm going to try this little device to pull my paint. I have some basic white as well. I have my stickles bottle that I'm going to use the bottom. I have my eraser from my pencil that I'm going to use. I have the base of the paint bottle that I'm going to use. And I have my posca pens. So what I want to do first is take and try out those colors on my cardstock first. Let's see if I can pause this for just a second. I have a clear ceramic tile that I can put my paints on to test them out. You know, I don't use my acrylics as often as I used to, so you don't know what state they're in. I used to do a lot of toll painting, and these are way old acrylics, so we'll just see how well they held up. Maybe this little guy didn't hold up at all. I'm not getting any color out of him. Okay, hold on. Have to go after a different pink. Okay, I'm back. I found a different pink. And it works. This other one, too old. And here I have this Luna Lights that I've had for a really long time. But I could feel them in the bottle. So yes, it still comes out. I could feel it shake up and down. So now here on my practice sheet, I'm just going to come over here and I'm just going to put a little paint down in a couple of places. I'm going to take and just scoot it across. Just make a design. Okay, I'm going to come back. I'm going to add some pink. This time I'm just going to pull it down. I'm not working in a very big space today, but that's kind of fun. That's how I usually work. I keep too much stuff on my desk. Add a little bit more in there. And then I'm going to come back in with this lunar. And let's see what that does. Oh my, look at that. Really want some off the page. That just, wow, took over everything. Okay, so let's come back in with some more pink. See if we can add that over the top. That creates a very different look. So let me try some purple. Okay, I'm going to have to be very careful with that lunar when I put it on my base card, because it kind of changes the look of everything. So that's why it's always good to experiment with what you're doing before you actually start your original project. So we now have a much better feel for how that's going to go. So I'm going to take and move that to the side. That'll be a fun background. But I'm going to clean off my surface. And I like to take and put a card, and I like to take a piece of paper in between my card so that I don't get it on the inside before I start with the front. And that lunar got all over the place, so I'm going to have to use it sparingly. So let's see if we're back here centered. Okay, so I'm going to start with pink. We'll do pink, pink, pink. Drag it across. Add a little more pink. Drag it across. Okay, then I'm going to take the purple. Go up and down. Then I'm going to take the lunar and try and do it just down here in this corner. See if I can I'm getting it all over me. Nothing like getting into your work. So, oops. I want to try a little bit more of that lunar just down here at the bottom. It reacts to the type of paper we're using. This isn't coming out nearly as dark as what we had on the practice paper, which I really am pleased with. I like the lighter look. But I do want to try a little bit more on the top here. Okay, what part do I need to add to, recreate, add a little bit more, maybe put a little bit of purple right here. Maybe it needs tad more on my palette because I've about run out of paint. Okay, I don't want to go much darker than that. Maybe a little right there. Maybe just a titch on the edge. Okay, now I'm going to wipe these off. And I'm going to come in with my white. Maybe it's time to get me a new paper towel. And now I'm going to add my white to my palette. And this is where we're going to start with the circles. So I'm going to take and smush over to the side here. And then dab off and create my circles. I kind of like to do them in threes. Dab it off, come back in. Maybe one there on the side. Okay, clean off my bottom of my stickles jar. Before I set it back over here. Gets in the crevices there. Take my pencil and just do some circles. Every one of these is going to turn out so different because of however you decide to do your designs. How many times you decide to come back in. I think I might take the bottom of this bigger container and add a bigger circle to some of those places. It changes the look of what we're doing with a different dimension there. It's looking kind of cool. It'll look different. Okay, I'm going to wipe off these. It will look different as it dries and as we come back in with our white Posca pen and go around the circles. And I did like using the point of my brush and making tiny dots in there as well. Whoops, that wasn't a very good dot. When the black gets in there, it will change a lot, and when we do more circles, it will change a lot. Now it's just time to let that dry, and I'll be back in a minute. The card is dry now from the acrylic paint, and so I'm going to take my white Posca pen, and I'm just going to draw some extra circles in here. Just random. It changes, do some stripes. It helps to block out some of that color with the increase of the white in the spaces. Can you see how that changes that? Crazy mixed media look. Kind of fun. You can actually do a flower in there if you want to. Come back and make those petals a little bit bigger. Just adds more white space. Okay, I think I'm going to quit messing with that for a minute. And I'm going to give that just a second to dry. And now I'm going to paint in the black. And we'll see a change in how it looks. Make sure I'm not setting my hand down in wet paint. Hope you can see this and I don't have my head in the way. As I come back and outline those images from the letters. I'll come back and fill them all in. It does change the look of the card once we get this all filled in. Okay, I did a really good job on this. Okay, almost couldn't see where my letter was. Every time you do one and you use different colors, your card turns out totally unique. And some colors you're going to love together, some colors you're going to go, oh, I wished I hadn't done that. For me, it's just practice. How it all works out is a new creation. You'll go, oh, next time I'm going to try a lighter color. Next time I'll use a darker color. It's just fun to experiment. And that's what we're doing here, is just experimenting on this card with the colors. Okay, let's see how this works. What the feel of as we use the black Posca pen, not the black Sharpie. I used that on my very first one that I did with distressed inks, and it just wasn't as brilliant, didn't stand out, didn't, to me, make a statement, and I wanted a bigger statement than that. I wanted it just be able to pop right off the page. And this black Posca pen truly does that. It now makes a statement on top of all of those other colors. And it doesn't fade into the background. It stands out above the background. I hope I'm staying in camera. This is an experiment tonight as I try filming this in my newly created workspace. But I wanted to share how this worked out and how I did it. I did oranges and pinks and yellows on the original one. Now this one I did pinks, purples, and an aqua iridescent, which is a totally different look. Because that iridescent on the purple makes it look really dark, a darker color than I anticipated. And because it is that iridescent, it takes on a different look on your paper. So just totally fun to experiment and see what you're going to get. When we add the shadowing lines, it will look different again. And when we add more Posca to the black, it will look different again. There for a while, you thought that we had just covered up this thank you totally. But now that I'm coloring it back in, you can see that it has a place. And as it dries, you can see I need to go back up and touch up just a few spots. But how fun is this? To see what we have created here. How the colors turned out. What will the final product look like? One thing that I always like to do when I make cards, and before I send them off, if it's one of these that I have painted, I like to put it on the scanner and scan it so that I can replicate it on other cards. I know the colors won't be exact because when you print it after you've scanned it, every printer prints differently the colors that they see. But most of my cards have always turned out beautiful, and I've liked the color that it reproduced, and it's been fun to make duplicate cards and send them out. So, and I always like to add a little glitter and a little glossy accents so it looks like one of a kind. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Totally different color base from what we did in the beginning with the yellow color base and the oranges and the peaches, but still I think it's a really fun card. And now I'm going to go back and add in the shadow lines, and that I will do with my black Sharpie, and then I'll come back in with my white Posca pen. And so we're just going to start over here at the side, come around there, come down from the T, come around the bottom and up, come down the side of the H, come across the side down a little there. Come down on the inside of the H. Don't forget to come down on this curve. Come around the A, trying to stay so that you can see that. But sometimes I get a little shaky. Doesn't always work perfectly. Come down from the N. Come down from the N. Circle around on the inside. Come around. Circle on the inside. Circle on the inside. Circle on the inside. Circle on the outside. All those lines make a difference in the presentation of your letter. And now I'm just checking back to see if I got all the places that I wanted. And then I'm going to come back in with my Posca pen, and I'm going to add the dots. You can see all the things that we do change the look of what we have made. Maybe I didn't like it in the beginning. Maybe it wasn't quite, it was too dark. But look, as you add these dots, how it brightens everything up. It makes a big difference, the amount of embellishing you do on each one of these letters. I get quiet when I work. See how different that makes that look? And now we're going to do the outsides of our U. Come around with the O. Gotta not forget that little one. Look what a difference that makes. Totally fun card. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Give it a try. You'll have a fun time creating it, and with whatever colors you use, it'll turn out totally different. All right, have a great evening. Bye-bye.